Welcome back to Death, a Changing Industry. Today we have the privilege of speaking with a remarkable individual. She's the founder of Scotty's Little Soldiers, a charity dedicated to helping children of fallen military personnel find smiles again amidst their loss. So, for those listening, stay tuned and please subscribe as we journey through a heartfelt conversation on Death, a Changing Industry. So with that, I welcome Nikki Scott to the podcast. Nikki, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
My first question to you, Nikki, can you share your personal journey of grief and how it inspired you to start Scotty's Little Soldiers? And what were the pivotal moments that led to its founding?
Yeah, so my husband Lee served in the army. He was in the 2nd Royal Tank Regiment, so Corporal Lee Scott, and he was killed in Afghanistan in 2009. And I think I saw very quickly, I don't think I realised straight away, but I witnessed our 2 young children, Kai and Brooke, who were 5 and 7 months at the time. I witnessed like the effects that his death had on them, especially on Kai, who was 5 at the time. I've since obviously gone on to learn more about childhood bereavement, and and I know that even the smallest baby will be affected by grief. But I think back then at the time, my focus was Kai, and I basically witnessed him, have, massive tantrums, massive outbursts, anxiety, wouldn't leave my side. Outbursts at school, so many things. And then I started to notice a real change in him where he really withdrew, so become very quiet, very distant. And I think it wasn't until about 9 months after Lee was killed, my cousin actually said to me, I want you to come on holiday, you need to come on holiday, you need a break, you need to come away. And I was like, I don't want to go, I do not want to go. It's the last thing I wanted to do, to be honest, because I had a guilt of, I don't want to go away. I don't want to be anywhere and happy. I'm living in this world right now, and what will people think and all this stuff. And then the thought of going on holiday with 2 young children, and the stress of being at an airport and just seeing other families with their parents. I just thought I didn't want to go. But actually, sounds really corny, but it's the best thing I did, because I then realised Kai relaxed, I relaxed. I saw him laughing. I realised he hadn't laughed like that. So I basically got back from that holiday and sort of was full of determination and okay, how many other children have experienced the death of a parent who served our country? How many other children need support? What support do they need? How am I going to help Kai through this? Why has no one spoken to me about the children? All these thoughts were going through my head. So did lots of research, spoke to my family and friends, and just found such limited support available for them. So that is how Scotty's Little Soldiers was formed. And why it was formed. And I think the goal at the beginning was very much about helping them to smile, helping them to know that, they're never going to be forgotten and their parent won't be forgotten. And it was to have a holiday home so they could go and have that break like that we had. Yeah. But as the time went on, I obviously realised there's a lot more support that these young children need within their bereavement journey. So obviously I've developed the charity since then.
That's fantastic. And it's really interesting you should say that you didn't feel right to go away, and I think there is an element of guilt and also in almost having a smile, having a joke. So we just don't know how to deal with these emotions that we go through when we lose someone we love. Yeah,
and I think a lot of people, you care too much what other people think, which is really silly, isn't it? And I know it's easy to say, but generally you do think about what will people think if I go away, and there is a massive guilt, especially as Christmas comes around, all those key times as well. You're like, I can't have fun, I shouldn't be having fun. If I smile, does it mean people are going to think I'm not forgetting about my dad? And it was just trying to teach Kai and Brooke as they've grown up, and the members of Scotty's, that actually it's all right to have fun and to celebrate your parent as well.
And I think what I try and teach people is physically, yes, it stops physically, but actually emotion and love, it can't stop. It has to carry on. You can't suddenly just press a button and it goes away. And when you actually start to understand that, it's very reassuring to know that they will always be part of you. Thank you for that insight, Nikki. So my next question then. So Scotty's Little Soldiers provides a wide range of support services for bereaved military children. Could you tell us more about the specific programs and activities you offer and how they've impacted the lives of the children you serve?
Yeah, so I think what I love about Scotty's is it's quite unique. So it's a membership based, And so the children will join Scotty's, and then we'll continue to support them until they're 25, you know. And I think sometimes, I remember in the early days, people would come and say, well, are you almost keeping them within their grief by keep contacting them and being a part? And actually what we realised was it's not about keeping them in the grief. It's similar to what you just said. It's about reminding them that they can have, I don't know, they can be okay, they can smile, they can have fun, they can get to know other people. And it's constant reminding them that their parent will always be an important part of their life and they're not forgotten. And I think the support program we have, which I'll obviously talk about, that's when we offer the real emotional, you know, bereavement support, and there will be a beginning and an end, and it's quite clear. But the membership is very much with them throughout. So it's about engaging with them regularly by sending gifts and vouchers at the tough times of the year through our Smiles program. And that is all to do with engagement and building up that trust. So when the tough times really come, it's not so scary to reach out to us because they already know us through doing all the fun stuff. Most of the families we support, not all, but a lot of them, like myself, were living in, you know, military accommodations. So you're surrounded by, you know, my husband was in the army, so we were in Tidworth, we were on a camp. Everyone around us was military, you know. At the Sky School, the teachers were often married to military personnel, so, you know, the children all were children of them. So then when, you know, Lee died, you have to move away. You know, that house isn't yours anymore, and that's massive, you know, insecurity of where do I go, what do I do, like on top of dealing with a death, you know. So the other part of Scotty's is all about reminding them you have got a community that you're a part of. You might not feel like you're within that military community anymore, but Scotty's brings them back to that.
It's good.
So we've got 4 programs: Smile, Support, Strides and Springboard. But across all those programs is very much that military element, and that's what makes us quite unique and quite different to other bereavement charities, I think, because we have this, yes, we offer bereavement support, but also we offer this community and feeling part of the military again. So
community, before you said that word, was something that I was thinking about, and something that I talk about in these podcasts unintentionally, but it keeps coming up, is connection points. And what that is at the point of someone dying to the day of the funeral, how we can create connection points, a platform for you to acknowledge and digest and accept and understand and just help you with your loss. And that can be, you know, at the funeral itself or before the funeral, being in the chapel of rest, closing the coffin lid down. What you're doing though is providing connection points after death and like throughout. And that is fantastic. And as I said, you're doing it with a community as well, which is military, which they're used to. And like you say, there is that sort of fearful moment that because your loved one who was serving has died, suddenly is that my connection now to that community gone now? What about us? And again, I know from being ex-military, there is that element. The community is so important within the forces. It's a big family. Massive.
You really do feel you know, and I know there's families that we support that chose to stay within that community, you know, like they moved or they lived fairly local, or some of them didn't live on the community, but you do have this sense of you belong. It's not just the person that serves, the whole family belongs in that military environment. So when this happens, you can often feel like, oh, I feel a little bit like out of it now, and that's what Scotty's brings it back to that. Nice. And also it's that community of just, you know, when the children get together, it's like veterans, you know, you see it, they instantly make those connections because they're like, without even having to talk about it, they're like, oh, you get it, there's no one else that get, even though every death is unique, you know, you can have 2 people that were killed in Afghanistan, their deaths will still be different because they're different people, right? But the children automatically have this bond of, you get it, you understand what my dad did or my mum did, and it's really special.
I suppose, like you're saying as well there, so support groups for bereaved children, like you're going there to discuss bereavements a lot of the time, but straight away having their parent who served, there's that connection straight away, isn't there? Like you say, you don't have to discuss the loss at all, just being around each other, that alone, that community alone is powerful. Yes,
so powerful. And actually at Scotty's, I didn't really answer your question very well before about the programs, but in our Smiles program, that is 100% about fun and engagement. So helping them to smile, know that it's okay to smile again, to get to know other children, young people. So that is when we have like a group event, and it's purely the outcome of that. The goal of that event is to help them smile and help them make friends. And although like bereavement is obviously at the heart of everything, actually within that event, it is purely about coming together with others who get it. So we have had, like this year, we've got a winter festival, for example. So they all come together, 100 to 200 of them will come together for this amazing event, and they get to just have fun, do activities, play games. And actually it's not a therapeutic event, but they will still know why they're there. Everyone there is similar to them. They can talk about their parent if they want to talk about their parent, that's what we do. But actually it's just about building that friendship. And I've seen children that have made friends 10 years ago, and they're still really strong friends today. And I hope that continues, because they'll have that peer support.
Amazing. What a platform for people. So my next question then for you, Nikki. Losing a loved one in the military can be an incredibly challenging experience for families, as you know. How do you approach the emotional and psychological well-being of children you work with?
So I think, again, it's about understanding that every child is different and will react differently. So, for example, we have at Scotty's, we have a child and young person support worker, Mark, who will offer one-to-one emotional health and wellbeing support, and it's all done online, so it's all virtual. And then we have Charlie on our team, who works with the parents and carers to help their children. So often after they've done their assessments, they will work out with that parent and carer and with that child what the best route for them is. And what I love about Scotty's is there's no, we don't necessarily look at, does this child need 4 sessions, 6 sessions, 10 sessions, just one session of a bit of a top up. It's about looking and assessing that child's needs and what support they need, and then working with them. So it would depend on, there's different resources we use, and also through the programs, you've got your support, but we've also got your group events. You've got grants that we offer. So we offer grants towards helping with their helping with their developments, so that, and their confidence, so that, it might be that we help them pay towards their football fees, because it gets them out socialising and everything. Because with bereaved children, often, there's the anxiety and the confidence, self-esteem drop. So it's all about building them up and making sure they're not disadvantaged by their bereavement. And I think at Scotty's, you can bring out all the impact data, and you can measure the pre and the post and how they are. And I think when I know what with Scotty's has made a difference is when you hear direct from the children and young people, and you can see, or they tell you, that they say things like, you've changed my life, and without Scotty's I don't know where I'd be, and things like that, which sometimes you think, no, I think you're a pretty amazing person and you would have figured this out. But I just love the fact that actually they always know there's a charity there whenever they need it that's going to help them, and also to try and empower them to help themselves as well.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I
don't know whether that answered your question.
No, it does, because the stuff that I'm doing with Parliament now, how you measure this, how you measure emotions, it's so difficult. Let's say if we all were the same, it's still difficult to do it then. But the fact we're also individual and unique, it's very hard to measure what is success and what is improving on sort of welfare of people. But as I say, you're providing a platform and you can see it. Sometimes
I just thought of an example, where there's been a young lad at school. I think he was in high school. I can't think of his age now, but and was on the verge of being expelled. And then the parent came to Scotty's and said, is there anything you can do? He's about to be expelled. I don't feel like the school are quite hearing what I'm saying. And actually, when with permission, we spoke to the school, it was quite, we were relieved that the school really didn't know that his dad had died by suicide.
Wow.
And often you get that whole, but it was years ago, and it's like, yes, but there's trigger points throughout it's never going to go away. There's always going to be times when this child will need a bit of extra support, and maybe they're reacting that we don't know for certain, but our point of view was just to get across to make sure the school understood how bereaved children can sometimes react, what support is in place for that child. And actually there wasn't any at that point, and actually we managed to work with the school. They were brilliant and very open to us helping and supporting, and we supported the family, and the young lad is now in school doing really well. And so it's
amazing.
just there's lots of they feel like little wins, but they are massively important. And often it's just about communication and making sure people are aware of, and have a bit of guidance on how to talk to someone, I think.
Yeah, again, though, it's, for me, it breaks my heart because the work that you're doing and the great work that's going on in the UK for people, quite often it's reactive. And I just wish we had more of a proactive approach in conversations around death and just the emotions we go through. Like for that young chap, that young lad, for the first conversations to happen with him at school, and it's already happened, the damage has already taken place. It's such a missed opportunity for everyone involved. And I'm pretty sure the school are probably relieved to get your guidance and help because they're sort of struggling with advice as well.
And so much made sense after we'd spoke. They just weren't aware. And I think a lot of that, we hear. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some amazing schools out there that do some incredible work. But it does shock me and the team when sometimes you're like, how can this information have not been passed over to the next school? Or how is this, how are they, some of the children, young people have actually told us, that, I had a card to be excused from the lesson, which we were like, that's amazing. That's, but actually then when they were outside the lesson, other teachers were like, why are you outside the lesson? And then they'd have to explain it all again. And it's just trying to put resources and guidance in place so that child doesn't have to retell their story or explain themselves all the time. And it is heartbreaking, some of the stories you hear, but I'm like what you said, I'm really glad that Scotty's is here, and it's about that membership is about providing them the tools, the guidance, so that hopefully they won't reach that crisis point and need that extra help, that they will be able to get through this.
Fantastic. You're empowering them, aren't you? Empowering them.
Yeah, exactly. Giving them the confidence to know what to share, when to share, how much they want to share, and how to do that.
No, thank you, Nikki. So another question for you now. It's quite personal as well. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So your husband Lee, he served in Afghanistan, and his passing had a profound impact on your life and the lives of your children. How have your personal experiences influenced your approach to running Scotty's Little Soldiers, and what lessons have you learned along the way?
Oh gosh, we could be here for days talking about this one. It has, obviously that's the reason Scotty started, so it does have a big impact. I think as the charity grew, I was a great example is when the charity first started, I was like, I don't want to do group events, I can't bear the thought of a load of widows and children all being together, that is was me.
And doing podcasts, forget that.
Yeah, exactly. But the thought for me, and that was where I was in my journey and how I was reacting, but actually I slowly learned that actually, there are other children that at different stages that really do need that, and so I've learned so much from other parents and the children and through running the charity, because I've learned, things that I thought at the beginning, like Brooke, she'll be okay, she's only 7 months, naively thought, she won't remember, she won't ever miss him because she was, the stuff I've learnt now, I'm like, how wrong was I? She's 14 and probably has found it tougher than Kai. Not that I compare them because they're very different children, but actually I've just learnt so much from the members, from parents, from the journey. I think living the experience and still living it, because obviously you always will, I think helps our families to maybe trust Scotty's a little bit more. They know there's someone there that is actually walking the same path as them, and I think that does mean a lot to the families, that I hope I represent them and to the best I can. So but if I'm completely honest, I think the charity saved me. Obviously I had to get out of bed because I had a 5-year-old nagging me for Cocoa Pops, but I definitely think the charity kept me focused, kept me busy, and still does, it is literally 24/7 my life, but it's knowing that Lee's legacy will continue and things are changing. That's the reason we do it, even when there's tough days come, and it's tough when you hear the stories and you there's a new family that join and you think, they're just at the start of this journey, but it's so worth it when you see the impact and you hear from the families.
Yeah, and I was just thinking then about obviously the success of helping other people, and you've seen that, but What is the price of that for you personally? What toll does it have on you? Because with the work that I do, arranging, conducting funerals, it's not a job to me. I am emotionally involved, and it does have a toll. There is a price. So what would you say to that?
Yeah, it's definitely that. And I think time, most of my time, like even when I'm not at work, which we're never not at work, but even when I'm not at work, my brain is thinking about Scotty's, and my phone is constantly, the team or the family, whatever it can be. So sometimes I think my family probably miss out a little bit, and I work so hard to make sure that I have family time, and I switch the phone off and that. But it's exactly what you said. That my work life and my home life are totally entwined. And I know that's not always healthy, and I get people say you need to separate them, but it's so, I don't see Scotty's as work. I just love it. I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. I care, and I also feel a sense of responsibility for those over 600 children that are part of Scotty's, and we can't let them down. I started to feel. I think when a few people said to me, "Oh, you need to switch off. You shouldn't have it so entwined." I think, well, I'm still professional. I still keep professional boundaries. All of that. But actually, I'm not going to apologize for that, because that is my life. And I think, and the fact that my family, my children, everyone just supports it and understands that it's but there are times when you miss out, but there are also amazing opportunities and some incredible people that we've met because of the charity that we never would have met. It's
very hard, and like you say, the balance is very difficult to get, but for me, my sort of motto within myself is service before self. And as long as my family are with me on that journey, and they understand the importance and how we can help people all over the UK, then
exactly.
that's a big thing, isn't it? So,
massively. It's sometimes it feels quite a selfish thing, because I love what I do so much. So I'm like, how lucky am I to go to work and love what I do, and at the end of it know that I've actually hopefully helped people, and to show my children that you can grow up. When you grow up, you can do something that makes a difference.
And also, so all those things, but actually at the centre of it all, the sort of flame in the middle of it all is Lee. Which is just 100%. Wonderful.
Yeah, he'd love it. He'd be like, yes, my name's everywhere.
Okay, so Scotty's Little Soldiers aims to bring smiles and happiness back into the lives of bereaved children. Can you share some heartwarming stories of moments from children who have benefited from the work and activities of your support?
Oh, wow. There are lots of moments that are really special. But there have been times where I think at group events when I've watched, there's this young person in mind where I've watched and they've struggled to go into the room because it's so overwhelming. There's lots of noise, lots of children. Lots going on, and I remember speaking to them and just coming down to their level and having a chat and just saying, it's fine, it doesn't matter, let's let everyone go, and then we'll go around slowly and have a look at different rooms where you can decide what team you want to be in, and just taking the time. And then by the end of the event, I turned around and saw this member just fully engaged with the children, laughing, making friends, and it just was like, wow, is that the same person that was at the start of this event? And I think that's a credit to the team and the people we work with for setting that environment that felt safe and relaxed. And I mean, there's so many. We also have a council at Scotty, so it's made up of children and young people from the organisation, and the whole idea of that is that we make sure we're listening to the voice of them. They're the beneficiaries. There's no point doing stuff if it's not going to be of benefit to them. So again, when they come together as a group and you hear them share their stories, talk openly about their parent that's died, cry, get upset, talk, laugh, and then you watch them support each other. It's incredible. It's sad, but incredible, because it just gives you, again, that fire in your belly of this is why we do what we do. Look at these children. And actually, after one of those, I remember, I think he's 20 years old, and he said he'd never really spoken about his dad to anyone like what he spoke about at that weekend, and actually just meeting others that totally understood it and making those friendships has, given him a whole new way of thinking.
Like you said, there's those small wins, which is so important.
Yeah, that people overlook, but you're like,
Yeah.
wow, that young man or that young girl has just done that, and she would never have done that before. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, my final question to you then, Nikki, how can individuals and communities get involved or contribute to Scotty's Little Soldiers mission? And what are your future goals and plans for the organisation?
So that's a great question. So, I mean, I think a lot of people naturally think that they have to just donate to a charity. And of course, donations is what keeps the charity going, don't get me wrong. But actually, there's so many other ways people can help the charity without actually giving money. So one of the biggest ways at the minute is we're asking people to sign the pledge. And it's literally going on our website, putting your email address in and saying that you pledge to support bereaved British Forces children and young people and you're behind us. And then you'll receive regular, emails to let you know what we're doing and if there's ways you can help, but also how we're getting on and keep you up to date. And it's all about, we've made a promise, like I said, we've got a responsibility to these children now. So we've made a promise to help them to smile, to give them access to the very best, health and wellbeing support, and to give them the development opportunities. And they're kind of our free promises at Scotty's. And I think it's really important that, we make sure we live those free promises, because we can't change what's happened, can't make everything okay, it's never going to go away, but we can give you access to the very best support and help you. So it's all about, if people agree with those promises, just sign our pledge, because actually the more people that know about us, the more awareness, and also the more children we can find, because we know there's still so many children out there that have never ever heard of Scotty's, and that's a heartbreaking fall. But the big goal for Scotty's is to be supporting 1,000+ bereaved military children and young people by 2030. So it's about trying to find those children to make sure they know we're here and we could be helping them.
Yeah, just to say, I think what the work that you're doing is incredible. Obviously, my connections to the military, I know how difficult it can be, and military people are struggling. I've had friends who've taken their own lives from the military. So just for what you're doing, Nikki, just a huge thank you. It's incredible. You provide a platform to grow. You create communities, and you create connection points as well. So to you, to your family, to the whole of your organisation, a huge thank you. And I'm sure that Lee would be immensely proud of the work that you're doing.
Yeah, I'm sure. I like to think that he'd be fundraising for Scotty's if he was around now, because it would be, military and children were his loves of life. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you so much.
A huge thank you for watching our podcast, Death, A Changing Industry. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel as we have some fascinating guests lined up. Thank you so much.